Next, capital contribution and profit sharing. Qadri shall contribute the existing assets of Jauhar Kindergarten, including classroom furniture, playground equipment, and 2 MPVs as his capital contribution. Next, Anak-Anas Cemerlang Sdn Bhd owned by Alin shall also contribute RM200,000 in cash. Next, Riaz should also contribute his expertise and service in managerial roles and is considered to be as non-monetary capital. And lastly, profit sharing will be allocated as follows: Qadri 50%, Alin 40%, and Riaz 10%. Both financial and non-financial contributions are treated equally. This clause will protect all interests of the party involved in regards to the capital contributions and profit sharing during the limited liability partnership's existence. Hence, all respective parties should adhere to the said clause. Any breach of the clause will result in termination of the
Moving on, as we transition Jauhar Kindergarten from a sole proprietorship into a limited liability partnership, our primary objective is to establish a governance structure that balances operational efficiency with the protection of the brand's founding vision. Now, I will be presenting Section 9.0 of the LLP agreement, specifically the control clause. This section is designed to define the hierarchy of leadership and the distribution of voting power between the founding partner, the managing staff, and our corporate investor. Begin with clauses 9.1 and 9.2, which establish our management framework. Under clause 9.1, we acknowledge the collaborative nature of an LLP. Every partner is entitled to participate in the management of the business. This ensures that the expertise of all partners, specifically Riaz's operational success in Seremban and Anak-Anak Cemerlang's networking capabilities, is integrated into our daily functions. However, for the sake of strategic consistency, Clause 9.2 formally appoints Qadri as the managing partner. Qadri is tasked with the overall strategic direction and primary business decisions. This creates a centralized leadership model, ensuring that while the business scales, there is a singular point of accountability and a consistent vision. The most critical element of this governance framework is found in Section 9.3 regarding voting rights. Traditionally, voting power is commensurate with capital contribution. However, to protect the educational integrity of Jauhar Kindergarten, we have decoupled financial investment from operational control. Under Clause 9.3.1, Qadri is contractually secured 60% of the total voting power on all partnership matters. Under Clause 9.3.2, the remaining 40% is distributed between Riaz and Anak-Anak Cemerlang Sdn Bhd. This structure is a deliberate safeguard. It ensures that despite the significant cash contribution from Anak-Anak Cemerlang, the LLP remains under the control of its founder. This prevents a corporate takeover and ensures that strategic decisions are driven by educational standards rather than purely financial motives. Moving on to clauses 9.4 and 9.5. We address the mechanics of decision making, while clause 9.4 dictates that standard business decisions are determined by a simple majority of voting power, and Clause 9.5 introduces a specific veto right to mitigate competitor risk. Given the sensitive nature of our industry, any decision regarding the curriculum, brand identity, or the student database requires the affirmative vote of the managing partner. This acts as a legal barrier, preventing the dilution of our brand or the unauthorized use of our proprietary data by external entities. It ensures that the intellectual property of Jauhar Kindergarten cannot be altered or moved without Qadri's express consent. In conclusion, the rationale behind this clause is twofold, which are transparency and protection. By clarifying that the managing partner holds ultimate rights to the operational direction, we prevent future disputes and ensure all partners understand their limits of control. It allows us to accept large-scale investment without jeopardizing the reputation or the established standards of the school. This provision ensures that Jauhar Kindergarten grows as a partnership but remains governed by the vision that led to its 8 years of success. So, regarding the drafting note, this clause is essential for clarifying that Qadri holds the ultimate rights to the operational direction of the LLP. by contractually securing a 60% voting majority. This provision ensures that capital contributions do not translate into a corporate takeover, allowing the maintenance of established educational standards and the ability to veto changes that might jeopardize the brand's reputation.
Furthermore, non-competition and confidentiality. Anak-anak Cemerlang's and its representatives and affiliates shall not engage in any business that directly competes with Jauhar Kindergarten within Malaysia during the limited liability partnership existence. Any information, curriculums, contents, materials, documents, details, graphics, file, data, database, text, images, digital pictures or any visual display in the Jauhar Kindergarten website should not be used or published either by electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording or otherwise without the permission from Jauhar Kindergarten. Partners must maintain their confidentiality of other confidential data, files, curriculum, records related to the commodities of contractual services provided. Partners must also comply with any applicable professional standards with respect to confidentiality of information. Hence, in the event of any infringement of intellectual property rights under this LLPA, Jauhar Kindergarten may use any legal remedies available, which may include the demand for actual or statutory damages, solicitors' fees, and injunction relief. Intellectual property rights remain with Jauhar Kindergarten, are transferred to another party, or are shared and maybe address issues such as licensing, confidentiality, and permitted use. This clause is essential for clarifying who holds the rights to valuable intangible assets, thereby preventing disputes and ensuring all the parties understand their rights and obligations regarding intellectual property.
Moving on to the clause 4, which is assumption of liabilities and indemnity. The first one, pre-existing contracts and liabilities assumption. The partners hereby acknowledge that Quadri, in his personal capacity, entered into certain contracts relating to the business, including but not limited to the Safe Right Vans contract, which is existing contract. The LLP shall subject to the consent of third parties and completion of legal formalities assumed and take over all rights, duties, and liabilities arising under the existing contract on the date of registration. The compliance officer shall take all necessary steps to effect novation or assignment, and the partners shall cooperate. Until such transfer is completed, the LLP shall indemnify Quadri against liabilities, properties incurred in good faith for the business and disclosed to the partner. Next, indemnity by the LLP. The LLP shall indemnify Quadri against all claims, losses, damage, costs, and expense arising from, first, any existing contract assumed by the LLP, and second, any business liability arising before formation for the business. Such indemnity shall not extend to liabilities arising from fraud, willful misconduct, or material non-disclosure on the part of Quadri. Moving on, indemnity against breach and misconduct. Each partner shall indemnify the LLP and the other partner against any losses arising from that partner breach, fraud, willful misconduct, or unauthorized act. The indemnity under this clause shall be without prejudice to any other right or remedies available for the LLP under this agreement or under applicable law. As mentioned above, through this clause, the stated concern posed by Quadri is to directly deal with and remove personal risks pertaining to a business liability predating the LLP formation, particularly the Safe Right Vans contract entered into under the personal capacity of Quadri. Through assumption and novation of existing business liabilities, the LLP is thus empowered to bear business risks. Within the stipulations for indemnity, Quadri is safeguarded to a reasonable degree by way of non-prejudice to him should a partner act dishonestly or breaching the agreement balancing all parties to a business venture.
I will now explain Clause 11 of the agreement, which deals with employment continuity. Subclause 11.1 provides that all existing employees of Jauhar Kindergarten at both the Shah Alam and Seremban branches will continue their employment with the LLP without any break in service. This subclause is critical because a change in business structure could otherwise be interpreted as termination of employment. By expressly stating continuity, the clause protects Qadri from wrongful dismissal claims and ensures business stability. Subclause 11.2 states that the LLP assumes all employment obligations, including salaries, benefits, leave entitlements, and length of service, on terms no less favorable than before. This reflects compliance with Malaysian employment principles and ensures fairness to employees. At the same time, it reassures employees that the LLP formation will not reduce their rights, which helps maintain morale and avoids disputes. Subclause 11.3 clarifies that the transfer of employment does not amount to termination of retrenchment. This is an important risk management provision. Without this clarification, employees might argue that they are entitled to compensation or severance benefits merely because the business structure has changed. This subclause, therefore, limits potential financial exposure for Qadri and the LLP. Finally, Subclause 11.4 introduces an indemnity in favor of Qadri. Once the LLP becomes the employer, it will bear responsibility for employment-related claims arising after incorporation. This protects Qadri personally from future liabilities, while still holding him accountable for any acts or omissions that occurred before the LLP was formed. The clause therefore balances protection for Qadri with fairness to the other partners. In summary, Clause 11.0 is structured to ensure a smooth legal and operational transition of employees into the LLP. Its placement under Clause 11 reflects its operational nature, while the subclauses collectively protect Qadri from employment-related risks, maintain employee rights, and support the continuity and stability of the kindergarten business. Thank you.